Hey, welcome to the Dropship Podcast. And today we're answering a question I got on a sales call. Someone who had a business going already. They were in another course and they said, "Oh, this course sucks. What do you guys? I want to come over and learn from you guys." And they had a question about outsourcing, and they wanted to know what are the top things to outsource and when to do it. And so I think John and I maybe have differing opinions here, or different experiences is probably more likely. But I also think we share mostly the same ideas here of like when and what to outsource. And so, right off the gates, John, product uploading. It seems like the easiest thing to get off of your plate right away as you build your business. Where's your experience lying there? Do you hire anything else right out of the gates, or is you just get someone uploading your products and helping you build the business?
Yeah, look, I think if you're following along in some sort of course or mentorship with this, you're probably going to learn how to do a lot of the stuff. So you don't need to learn to do it yourself. So if you're in Dropship Breakthru in our program, we show you how to do a lot of the stuff yourself, right? And a lot of the stuff is probably easier than you're thinking it's going to be in the beginning, and you can do it yourself. And the value of paying somebody else to do it isn't really there, in my opinion. But uploading products, the value is there because it is quite a time-consuming process. You can do it yourself. On my very first business, I did upload all of my first products myself, for sure. And I spent long nights doing that, right? But the reality is, the nature of these businesses, you might have hundreds of products in the beginning that you could put on your site, and you should. And so getting somebody's assistance, if it's something that you can afford to pay somebody to help you with, and it's not a particularly expensive thing to pay for, just to get that product data that you're getting from your suppliers into your Shopify account and then, make it look decent, is a good investment, because it's going to get you to the point of making your first sale, getting your first customers a lot quicker than if you're just doing it yourself. So yeah, I think for me, that's definitely the best thing. Personally, I've always found people to upload products into Shopify through onlinejobs.ph. So people in the Philippines, there are literally probably thousands of people on that platform who have experience with Shopify, how the Shopify backend works, how to upload products. One of the nice things about Shopify is that it's used by like 1 million online stores. So there are a lot of people with experience these days on how to do things in Shopify, and you don't need to really, you'll be able to hire somebody that knows how to do it. So the training required is more around how you want the products uploaded rather than how to use Shopify. You don't really have to teach a lot of people how to use Shopify these days, which is nice.
Yeah, I think I found mine on Upwork. I did test quite a few people. I think the key when thinking about outsourcing this is get your style down, right? So you get fluent in it. Build out. John likes to do Loom videos. I have an entire ridiculous process in a Google Doc. Do some mixture of both, but get your process outlined. And we have some checklists in the course too for SEO too. Make sure that you're getting your H1s and your H2s and your images one by one and alt tagged and file named, and all the goodies that you need to do in your business. Get that all laid out so that you can outsource it. And I think I pay, and this is going to be controversial. I think I see some people, getting all over Nick Huber on Twitter, but I pay $4 an hour for this, which I think is a good wage for the human that I'm paying this. Her name is Rose. I love Rose. Shout out to you, Rose. If you ever listen to this, I've referred her to many, students and colleagues as well, just because she has the systems dialed in. Don't everyone reach out and ask for Rose after this podcast, but you can easily find somebody. Just go to Upwork, lay out exactly what you need done, and you'll have plenty of people reach out and say, hey, this is something I think I can do for you. I like to give them all the same product and just say, go upload this in the backend. I'll actually set up a mystoreva@gmail.com, give them all that same login, give that login access to the backend to upload products, and then have them all upload one and name the title, their name, product title. And, see who can follow the processes best. I think you'll have no shortage of people who claim they can do it. Most will be able to do it well. Some will do it great. Hire the people that do it great.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we could probably have an episode at some point just on how to do outsourcing right, if we haven't already done that. But definitely just to reinforce one of the points Ben just made, like, don't just hire somebody and tell them to go and do it. You've got to show them how you want it done in your site. So I can't count how many people over the years I've spoken to who are like, oh, I hired this person off Fiverr and they just went and did stuff in my Shopify account and it was all wrong. That's your fault. That's not their fault, right? You can't pay somebody to do it their way. Your site needs to be built in your way. And so you have to train people who are going to work for you. It doesn't matter what task we're talking about here. How to do it in your way. And you've actually got to have, videos or even text-based documents. It doesn't matter. You've got to give them something and give them guidance. Otherwise, you 100% are going to run into times where you pay somebody to do something and then you go and look at the end result and you're like, well, that's not the way I like it. And that, in that case, that's your fault.
And you're going to run into that anyway. Just no one's going to do it the way you want it done. And it's going to be frustrating. And you're going to have to do a little more editing than you think you should. But like that, I think that turns people away. It did for me in the beginning. Just like, all right, I guess I'll just do it myself. That's not the right answer there. The answer is to lean in and take them from the 80% to 100%, through feedback. And, hopefully you did well hiring, but you're probably going to hire some people that can't do it either. Hiring,
developing people, training people is a skill. Right. And if you've never done it before, it's a skill you need to develop. And, you can go, listen to anybody who's anywhere successful in business, and they will tell you that people who are really successful in business aren't great at doing stuff. They're great at finding people who are great at doing stuff and getting them to do it for them. Right. So if you want to build big businesses, if you want to be that guy, then this is a skill that you should get good at. Like hiring, finding the right people, giving them the development pathway, and then supporting them to go and do that thing that they're great at. Because you can't be great at everything in your business. No one person is the best at everything, right? Yeah, me. Ben's got his hand up.
Other people. No, look, this is a skill along with many other skills. I am of the belief you got to learn how to do it yourself before you can outsource it. But that's been one of the hardest skills for me to learn. Is I think we did well hiring in the beginning. I've made a few mistakes hiring, and heck, I've made a few mistakes firing. And so it's a muscle I've never had to tone before until in business, right? I just don't think you're using it other places unless you were a manager or something like that in a previous company you were for. So it's a skill, and the riding bike analogy, you're going to fall off your bike a few times and hire fast and fire faster. And I've heard that advice for so long, but I don't necessarily think I've listened to it sometimes, where certainly should have fired faster, and never really came back to bite me. But every time you do, you're just like, I should have done that months ago.
Yep. All right.
So there's more on this list, and the next one I've only done in-house. So if we're going to talk outsource, like truly outsourcing, I'd love to hear your take on the next one on the list here, John. Customer service.
Well, look, I think when people in the e-commerce space tend to use the word outsourcing because or in the dropshipping space, at least, use the word outsourcing. I don't think it matters whether it's outsourced or in-housed. I just think most people aren't familiar with in-housing something. So I think it's this, in going with the spirit of the question, I think it really is getting somebody else to do these things, right? Whether it's in-house or out-house, I don't think it matters. But customer service is the next one on the list. And this is a big one for me. Like, as in, it's a really important one to take off your plate. And the reason for that is once again, it's something you need to do a bit yourself in the beginning. I think you need to have a connection with your customer, with your ideal customer. You need to get to know them as a business owner. That's really cool. And often when you're drop shipping, you're coming into a market that you may not have a lot of personal exposure to, as in you may not be your ideal customer. Sometimes you might be, but more often than not, you're not. And so being able to develop an understanding of your ideal customer by talking directly to them on the phone and listening to them and hearing what they have to say and what their experiences are and all that sort of thing is valuable for you as a business owner to a point. But the difficulty with customer service, particularly phone-based customer service, is you cannot predict it. So it's just going to happen when it happens. And for you as a business owner, being in like a workflow and having to stop that, like let's say you're working on the big important tasks on your business, like you're doing the work to move your SEO or something like that. And then every 15 minutes, you've got to stop because the phone rings and you've got to answer it, and you get out of your flow and you get back into it. And either side, it's 15 minutes of an interruption before you get back to peak work output. Now, if you're just getting started, you might be saying, well, what the fuck does that matter? I just want to make a sale. Sure. But believe me, this is real, right? So that means you're basically losing. You've only got X number of hours in the day. So you've got to get your head around now about maximizing your usage of that time. Like if you want to be, once again, the most successful person, you've got to get the things that only you can do into your time, right? And customers, like having it broken up by answering the phone, which is important to make sales, but individual phone calls in and of themselves are not going to be the thing that decides the long-term success or failure of your business, right? So they are urgent, but not important. I don't know. This is a whole nother prioritization thing that we can talk about another time. I won't deep dive into that because it's a rabbit hole, but because of that interrupting nature, and it gets worse. So as your business grows, you get more and more of that. And certainly you can find that it can turn into a job of its in and of itself if you let it. And it's because of the disruptive nature of it. What it means is that customer service stops you from doing all of the other things that you could be doing. And a lot of those things are not things that you should or could outsource, at least not in the beginning, either because they're really expensive to outsource or because it's just you're not going to get a better result from outsourcing it. Customer service, though, is. So you can go out there and usually find somebody who has years and years of customer service experience that is actually going to provide a better outcome for your customers than you. And this is certainly the case for me, right? Because I get really cranky with people on the phone, and I've found in the beginning, I thought, look, no one can do customer service better than me in my business, right? I'm the guy. Like, this is my business. I'm going to do it best. And then I hired a really fantastic person, and she just blew it out of the park, right? Like, I can still remember, she was one of my first hires in my first business, Carol. She was in the Philippines, and she was amazing. And the length she would go to with the customers was way above where I would get frustrated with them and just be like, oh, you're an idiot. I don't want to talk to you anymore, sort of thing. Go away. Get out of my face. Like angry customers or customers who are, had a problem with something, the patience she would exhibit was far and away better than what I could do. And that had much better outcomes for the business as a whole. Not only just did I not have to think about or deal with that at all anymore, but it actually led to happier customers. So you have to, I think, this is a big one. It's going to get you, if you do it right, it's going to get you better outcome, but it's also going to protect your time as the leader of your business to actually lead your business.
I've seen this done a few ways, so I'll just give you the few examples I'm aware of. Kellen, if you're listening, shout out to Kellen. I was hoping he could present at the event, our live event in July. But he's got a young one on the way, I believe. So I don't know if he'll be able to make it, but he did something unique. Yeah, what a weird excuse, huh? He did something unique in that he hired a call center, which I think a lot of people do. You're not gonna avoid those emails from call centers who want to try to do that for you. But they're not great, right? And they often are just reading your product page. And so you'll call and you'll hear them clicking through to answer the question. It's not great. So Kellen listened to every single phone call for 6 months straight and provided them feedback on a daily basis of how to be better. And now he has an unbelievable team behind him who's doing an excellent job. So that's one way. I've seen people outsource to Filipinos working in the middle of the night, and I've seen that go well. I've seen that go extremely poorly. I think that really depends on the human behind the screen there. The biggest company I was part of, we probably waited too long. We hit 1 million in the first year, and that's when we made a hire. And so almost immediately that person's time was taken up by just phone calls, and we had to hire another person. And so I've seen that happen. They were straight out of college. We paid $20 an hour, which used to be a lot prior to COVID. I would say that's probably closer to $30 an hour is what we would have paid them now. And then I've seen other people go to sites like hiremymom.com or I was over here scrolling this entire time trying to find the military spouse one. There's one very much like Hire My Mom for stay-at-home moms, for military spouses as well who want to do this sort of thing. And so I think you can find somebody who wants to stay home, has 4 to 6 hours in their day they can dedicate to your business, to return calls, and help answer the phone during that time period. And it could be relatively inexpensive and pull this off for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you mentioned, for customer service, it really comes down to the person. I think all of those avenues can work for sure. But it doesn't matter where you're hiring from or what country they're in. For customer service is a human it's a human interaction, right? So it comes down to the human. So this is one of the areas where taking the time to hire properly and actually taking the time to find the right person, and not just the cheapest person or not just the first person that comes across your path. Doing interviews, properly, all of that sort of thing is hugely valuable, because if you can find the right person here, it can be like a game changer for when you're in the early stages of your business. Like in your first 12 months somewhere is ideally when you're doing this. It's massive. It's really massive. And I've seen guys that didn't do this, like you mentioned, Ben. There's a friend of ours in our program whose business got into the, I think, sort of the $3 million a year in annual revenue mark, and he was still doing all of the customer service himself. And when I first started talking to him, he was like, I have no time to do anything else. And he's very lucky that he got that far at that point, I think, with just everything that way. But it couldn't do anything else because he was spending 40 hours a week doing customer service or something ridiculous like that as the business owner and not doing anything else. So you don't want to end up there. If you can do it earlier, it's much easier, because if you get to there and you've got to then spend time bringing people in to fix that for you, it's harder, right? It's harder.
See, we often talk about the mental here, and this is one where you're going to run into your own blocks. Like John said earlier, no one can do it like I can do it, right? And you will close more sales than the person you hired closed, at least in the beginning, but you should be able to train them to be better than you if they're not better than you out of the gates already because you hired well. And so like you're going to run into they can't do it as well as me. Also in that 3 million case, I'm not saying this is the case with them, but it's very easy to watch your profits go up, and now it's enough. You left your job. Now you're living off that. Now it's like, oh, you made a little bit more. Now you can have a little of the niceties you wanted to have. Maybe you upgraded your car or something, or got a nicer home or whatever. Like, it's really easy for your lifestyle to rise with your business. And then you've just created yourself a job where you're answering the phone 40 hours a week and you can't grow your business, and there's no way to outsource it because now you've kind of gotten used to or accustomed to those profits as they rise too. And so, there's a lot of traps here, I think. Yeah.
I heard this really great saying the other day, or this really great phrase that has been actually bouncing around in my head, not because we're recording this podcast, just in general in the last week, just in terms of how I'm operating in our, various businesses and all that sort of thing. And tell me what you think about this. It kind of stuck out to me. It's like we all want to, we all get into business to make more money, right? Usually. And it was something like, you can't be worth $500 an hour if you spend your time doing $26 an hour jobs. So I think about that, and that's like, I put a price on my time, right? And it's pretty high. And I know you do too, Ben, and it's also pretty high compared to, the average job standards. But that thinking in that way has actually made me pull up a lot of times and look at what I'm doing and say, is what I'm doing actually worth that? Do you know what I mean? And should somebody else be doing this who I can pay that smaller amount of money? So anyway,
popped back into my head. We can have fractals all we want here. I heard that from my friend George. He calls them minimum wage activities. And I fought that for a long time of like he got on me for mowing my lawn. He's like, it takes you an hour of your day. What do you charge people for an hour? At the time, it was $100 an hour. And he's like, how much would it cost you to hire someone to mow it, where you could spend that hour, either working or just spending it with your family or doing anything else that you want to. And so, man, it's really hard in the beginning to let go of things. I'm raising my hand and saying I was guilty of this too, of like, hiring someone for customer service or product uploading was very hard in the beginning. My perfectionist tendencies, which tend to get in the way probably more than I think they should get in the way, really showed up back then. And it's very easy to not believe a different way is possible because you've only known one way, right? Like, first off, you didn't know anything. Then you started a business and you've only known the way that you've muscled it to this point. And so believing somebody else can come along and realizing that, it's a completely new skill set. It's tough. All right. So we spent 20 minutes getting to this point. Let's move on. I'm probably going to turn this into a 2-parter. So, maybe I'll cut it here for the next episode. The next thing that I like to think about, I kind of bundle into customer service, and that's order processing. It's just such a headache. It's a time consuming thing that I think a lot of people want to figure out how to automate. And you can automate some of it, but not all of it, right? And so I like to kind of lump that into the customer service. They're the one who just closed the order on the phone. They may not need to wait for ClearSale to approve because they've already talked to this customer. They can get the order moving. They can deal with supplier relations. They can handle returns, refunds, customer complaints. Like they're already basically doing all of the things besides placing the order and handling the supplier side of things. I kind of like to lump those together, and it makes you feel like the investment you're making into that human, that there's more value being had to you, or just more things coming off your plate, allowing you more time to just buy your time back to either spend with your family or go to the beach if you're John, or go to a baseball game if you're me, or, work on your business, pulling bigger levers.
Yeah, definitely. I think in the beginning, this is one way, like if you're sitting there going, well, I want to outsource customer service, answering the phone and whatnot, but that's not like a full-time role yet. This is the thing that you put alongside it, like, placing orders with suppliers and all of that sort of thing in the back end, and then managing that kind of fulfillment process. I think that goes hand in hand with customer service. There is a point where the volume gets that you separate them, and you might have somebody that's just working on the order processing. They're contacting suppliers when they need to resolve issues, and all of that sort of stuff, managing tracking information, blah blah blah, all that kind of thing. I think that there is a point where they become separate because just the volume of customer service means that it is a full-time job for one. If you get even bigger, maybe two people. But yeah, I wouldn't overplay the automation here. I hear that question a lot, like, oh, it sounds like with one of these businesses, I'm going to have to individually, manually contact suppliers to place an order. And it's like, yeah, you are. But let's be honest, you're selling $3,000 products. If you sell 10 of those a day, you're going to be making 33 grand a day in revenue, which is a lot. It's still only 10 orders. That's going to take a person less than 1 hour to completely manually, with no automation, process those. You're going to pay that person $10. So what? Like, what are we talking about here? It's a non-issue. It's really just a non-issue. So the automation thing is it's completely unnecessary. Like, it's a waste of time.
So I spoke with a guy at E-commerce Fuel Live who is solving this problem, and he originally started wanting to solve it for us folks, so that, like, you and we'll just say supplier A, B, and C, if you put the app on your store, and they simply, when they sent their inventory updates, which is usually a spreadsheet, and tag them in the email, that would automatically sync to your app and update all the inventory, which would be a really nice thing to have, honestly. And then at the same time, it would help with the order processing. Again, you would just shoot the email, tag them, or it would zap into the thing. It sounded fantastic. And then I was like, great, what does that cost? And he said, 20 grand a year is where we start at. And I was just like, I don't think I can pitch this to my students right out of the gates. Like, this is something that would definitely work. And he's like, yeah, that's why we're going after enterprise, blah, 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 blah. And so,
but like,
I hope someday it gets dropped down to us, because there is some benefit to automation, but I think too many people are looking for this passive income stream that's just going to print them money on demand. That's not what a business is, right? A business is a living, breathing entity that you have to caress and take care of and invest into.
Yeah. It's hard to see somebody developing a complicated SaaS product type thing for this that is going to replace the minimal cost of a VA in somewhere like the Philippines. Not to say that you should pay those people a tiny amount of money. You should pay them a good amount of money that's appropriate for where they live, right? They should still be well paid, but it's still going to be like, even if you're going to charge me $100 a month for that service, it's still comparable, and I can get that person to do other things. So I actually, for a high ticket dropshipping business, if it was a different e-commerce business with a really high number of daily orders, yeah, totally, there's benefit to automation. But here, very few people are doing enough sales in a day where they're overrun with processing orders. And if they are, it's because they don't have a person helping them do it. They're doing it themselves. So the answer isn't to seek some funky automation that might break half the time. Yeah. It's to just hire someone. It's so easy. It's unbelievably easy.
Yeah, I think going back to that scenario where we hired someone too late and we had to get a second guy on, he quickly became the order processing and handling all of that. This guy handled all of the phones, and we had to bring in another person for the phones. And so it quickly can become its own job. It can be a lot if you're doing extremely well, which we were doing extremely well in that business. And then of course there's not just here's the order, right? As the order comes back and tracking and, God forbid, chargebacks and returns and, just customers complaining, it's going to happen, right? There is a second side to the customer service, more on the, the back end post sale side of customer service there. So, but all right, let's move on this list, right? So product uploading, customer service, order processing. I think the next thing I would look into is content itself. I think there's actually quite a few pieces to SEO that you could outsource. The one piece I would say don't outsource is I think you should do your own keyword research. I just haven't run into somebody who can do it well. Can you go to, what is his name? Spencer on Fiverr? We've talked about him before. You can go pay him $5, $10 and he'll give you them all in a spreadsheet. But where you actually allocate them in your business, what type of page is it? What is the intent behind the search term? How do you do the headlines? How do you do the supporting keywords? That is something that I think you should handle in your business. And until I find somebody, which I'm testing someone right now, please be the one, until I find somebody who can pull this off, I think that's something you can't outsource, but you can outsource once you've outlined the keyword for the page or the collection or the blog post and outline the other headlines and the supporting keywords that need to be there. You can absolutely outsource that content. And I don't mean to chat GPT, though they may be able to help you with some outlining. I think you can hire someone to do this. And again, just like the other things we've talked about, that doesn't come without its ups and downs for sure. I've only rarely hired someone out of the gates who just crushed it for me. It's mostly been the case that they're part of the way there, and I got to continue working with them to match my tone, match my voice, things like that.
Yeah. And this is a good one, right? Writing any sort of content for your website, whether it's blog posts, collection page content, even product descriptions, which is more copy rather than content, but most people who start a high-ticket dropshipping business are not natural writers. In fact, most people in general are not good at writing. I think, it's probably 15% of the population or less are actually find it easy to write stuff. Most people are like, it's just so hard. And if something feels hard in your business, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to do it. You're going to procrastinate around it. You're going to do anything else that you can do to avoid doing it. And this is why a lot of people actually don't get anywhere with SEO. Because the tasks that need to be done, they don't want to do because they don't feel confident about it. They don't feel they have the skills to do it, or they just don't enjoy it. Like writing a 3,000-word blog post is a lot of work. And sometimes you need to do that. Not always, but sometimes you need that nice, big, chunky piece of content. You shouldn't be doing that yourself as a business owner. Once again, in that time spectrum, your daily amount of time, you can't sit there for 10 hours writing a massive piece of content like that. And it may even take you more than that if you want to do a really good one. So you absolutely should offload that because one, it's going to make sure it happens regularly. You don't have to procrastinate around it. And you're actually going to start making progress in, probably what is our most important method of generating traffic for a high ticket dropshipping business.
Yeah, I think there's a lot, again, into SEO that you can do here, right? So, again, find somebody who's going to do backlink building the right way. You can find plenty of people who will charge you absolutely nothing and do backlink building the wrong way. But if you can get someone to actually do the outreach for you and offer to do guest posts, offer niche edits, if they can go find places, broken backlink building. I actually found a site today I think I'm going to share with our students on a call, John. They're doing all the stuff, right? And so they've got all the, you can go get a link from Samsung.com if you know how to get into their, their portal and get a link. Do you want one? Maybe. Depends what industry you're in. Sure. But there's a lot of EDU links that you can kind of backdoor your way into. There's all sorts of different ways to do backlink building. And if you can find somebody who's quality at it, not just doing guest posts, like I think, ABC Plus from Matt Diggity, it's okay. They're going to go do guest posts on random blogs. They are links. This is not exactly what I'm talking about. Smash Digital, same sort of thing. They're going to go do guest blog posting on random places. I think you can get somebody in your business to do a better job than that at a cheaper cost. And again, you're going to want to make sure you understand the process here before you hire somebody, but I think you could definitely do that. Same with like research, just general research on the marketplace. What are your competitors doing? Where do they have links? Can they go do all the Ahrefs works for you and find all the gap analysis, as they would call it, right? Your competitors have these links. Everyone has one. You don't have one. Let's go find those links. I think there's a lot of research you could have somebody doing, or, let's imagine you're B2B. You could have them go scrape every single landscaper in the country, if that is your target person that you want to talk to, right? And then they can do the cold outreach behind that. There's a lot I think you can do that maybe isn't a direct lever in your business, or maybe doesn't directly free you up, but allows you to gather the information you need in order to take action. What are some like random things that you've outsourced there, John? Or maybe you can just build on some of the things we just touched on.
Yeah, definitely. I think with backlink building, as long as you work out the processes, and we give our students some of those, like with SOPs in Dropship Breakthru, you can go to an agency for that, and they're going to charge you to do some of the methods that we're talking about, like $1,000 a month, let's say, or something like that, right? And what that gets you usually with an agency is about 4 or 5 hours of someone's time and a piece of software that they use. Let's be honest. They're not spending every working day, every hour of their working week on your business. You can get a $10 an hour person to do those tasks for you if you train them in how to do it, right? So, $1,000 a month, convert that to $10 an hour. How much time is that dedicated time just for you in your business? Is that actually going to get you? It's a lot more than you're going to get out of that agency. You're going to end up making a lot more progress in that space because the amount of outreach that person's going to do is massively more. And so I think, once again, the way that you do those things, if you can learn it yourself, you can teach somebody else to do it. And I think that in most cases is the best thing to do for a value, but also having oversight and control over how things are happening in your business. You get much greater levels of that when you work with somebody within your business. So, I
think SEO is where it could get fun. Like you can, like you said,
There's
there are folks, $10 an hour is well paid in some places in this world, right? And so, can you go higher? 12, 13 probably doesn't scare a lot of people on this call thinking, I'm going to hire you for $13 an hour for 20 hours a week. That's not that scary of a dollar amount, right? That, what does that come to? Like $1,000 a month or something like that? Like that's way reasonable to get somebody part-time focusing on your business only. Now, what you need to watch out for, again, you can go to Fiverr and buy all the links you want right now, and they're going to be terrible. You can hire people on Upwork who will just go, for our pellet grill site, they'll just go build pelletgrill.blogspot.com, pelletgrillsandsmokers.blogspot, and they'll just they'll build out a PBN, which is really bad news, and be like, look at all these great links I got you. You don't want that either, right? And so again, there are SOPs inside of Dropship Breakthru. There's even more coming here, definitely around the research side and the on-page SEO side, and Leighton's about to do some really cool technical stuff for us. And so a lot of these things you can hire out, whether it's an agency, whether it's a human. That's fun. All right, before we go to the last one, which I think everyone asks about, John, is there anything else that you would consider outsourcing in your business or that you have in the past?
Yeah, one that I have, and this is particularly a B2B thing, I think, and a lot of people in high ticket dropshipping are doing B2B. So you're selling to businesses. You've got products that businesses like to buy. That does open up some interesting opportunities around doing outreach to those businesses rather than just relying on them coming inbound to you through ads or organic search listings or something like that. You can reach out to those businesses and because B2B is a bit more relationship based than B2C sales. And so reaching out to them and starting that conversation is going to help you find more customers. And so there are some great tools out there, LinkedIn being one of them, where it's really easy to find people in specific positions, in specific companies, in specific industries, and you can contact them directly on that platform. And so in my first business where I was selling the home lighting, chandeliers and things like that, some of my customers I identified were interior design companies, architectural companies, and electrical contracting companies, right? So what I did was I learned part of it from somewhere and devised part of it myself, an outreach method using LinkedIn and a virtual assistant to just go and start hitting up companies from a list of companies that I pulled out. And you can pull out a list of all of the interior design companies in Australia or in the US or whatever. Like you can just get a list of the names, go and find those companies, start contacting them, right? They'll, whether it's through LinkedIn or whether it's just through other methods, and put your name out there. And so that was certainly something that I built up like a list of, I think on my LinkedIn, you still go look at my LinkedIn. It's still, I've never used it for anything other than this really. I have like 4,000 industry connections on there. from that particular business. I never used it again because I haven't really done that much B2B since. But I was generated a heap of business from doing that.
Yeah, I think there's one easy one that I don't know how to make this list, and that's social media, right? And so part of Google understanding you're a real business is like you need social signals. You should be signed up on every Web 2.0 platform. And if you can just go simply post content relevant to your business, I think that's a great start. I think eventually you should lean harder into what you're capable of down the line, but I do think that's way further down the line. I've been able to do this for what I think is a reasonable cost actually, she started as a high-ticket dropshipper as well. She realized she liked some parts, she didn't like some parts, and really leaned into this part. She's a great example of how you can learn some skills and pivot here. Her name is Karina. She's actually helping John and I out with a few things currently, and she's probably open to taking more gigs. And so this one, I will say, if you are looking for someone to handle your social media on a post relevant content daily type thing, reach out. She's very reasonable and she's awesome to work with, and she's a great gal. And if you're listening, Karina, hope you want some business. But I think that's a super easy one that you can get done again for a relatively cheap cost. Someone who can post for you on a daily basis, stay relevant in your customers' minds, make it so when they see your remarketing ad and they click on your profile and go to your Facebook page that there actually is something there. You appear, again, not just for Google, but for your customers to be providing relevant content. And if you're pumping out content, she's very good at spinning that out for you and talking about it. And so, shout out to Karina there. I think that's an easy win. The big one that, like, we get asked this all the time, John, and unfortunately we get a lot of people coming to us who have done this and really gotten screwed over here, is ads. I want to believe it's because it's hard. That is probably the hardest thing you're going to have to learn in your business, is how to run Google Ads correctly and set it up well. I think we do a very good job in our course of teaching that. We talk about it a lot on our coaching calls inside of the Elite membership as well. Just getting this right is so paramount to your business that I think it's easy for people to be like, oh, thank God I can just hand this off and not think about this anymore. But I have yet to see a company that can do this well. And if you're listening to this and you've been dropshipping for a while, you're going to recognize some of these names. Search Scientist is one of them. They fucking suck. Don't go to Search Scientist. They're terrible. I thought it was just me, and maybe I had a bad experience, but inside of e-commerce Fuel, you can rate agencies, and it's behind a paywall where they are behind a thing where agencies can't see what you write about them. So everyone's really honest. No one likes Search Scientist. I'm not sure how they're in business. There's quite a few others that aren't great either, and you will definitely hear from. Do you know what was it called? Logical Position, John? Is that the one that? Yes. I've never been on more accounts that say LP and whatever their campaign name is. Terrible. Logical Position will reach out to you, guaranteed, the moment you have a Shopify business. They simply scrape built with and reach out to you. And they sound like they know what they're doing. They definitely do not. I would not recommend them. And I think there's probably a few others that I'm forgetting here that we've ran across in the past. John, I don't think I would ever tell anyone to outsource ads. And I have a horror story that turned out with a happy ending of when we did outsource this in-house, in fact. But I just, to me, that's the bread and butter of your business, and you can't get that wrong.
Yeah. So the reality behind this is that, and I will say this as somebody who was kind of in that industry for a while. I used to run ads for people, right? So I understand this business a bit. That's why I've managed so many Google Ads accounts. When I say I've managed over 100 Google Ads accounts in my time, that's the reason why I did that for about 3 or 4 years. The way we run ads for high-ticket dropshipping is very specific in that it's a method that we use that not many people, other people outside of high-ticket dropshipping use, right? And so almost no agencies actually have any experience in doing it that way. What they're going to do in your business is run ads in exactly the same way that they would for somebody who sells $50 products. And it just doesn't work, right? It just doesn't work. There's no debate about that. There might be some obscure examples where it does, but more often than not, they're going to come in, they're going to run Performance Max campaigns these days, as they're now called, previously Smart Shopping campaigns or something like that. They're going to do very minimal work. And let me tell you right now, from being in that industry, when you hire an agency for $1,000 a month, you think you're going to get a lot of time in your account. You're really not. You're getting 4 to 5 hours a month sometimes of somebody being in your account. That's really what you're getting, because they've got to pay their staff. They've got to cover their other overheads. They've got to give their directors profit. right? So that $1,000 a month is not you spending $1,000 on your ad account. You're spending a couple of $100 on your ad account, and the rest of that money is going to supporting their business. So you have to think about, for you, is it worthwhile? If you really wanted to get somebody else to do it, could you hire somebody and train them how to do it? Or put them through a course like ours where they can learn how to do it, and then they're your employee. Even if they're part-time, they can spend all of their time on your account. And I guarantee you, if it was paying an agency $1,000 or hiring somebody for $1,000 a month and then getting them trained in how to do it correctly, and maybe getting that person to do a few other things for you as well, you might get a better outcome there.
Or just pay someone what they're worth. You're going to get 4 to 5 hours for that 1,000 plus 7% of your ad spend or whatever they're charging you on top of that, right? And so just use 1,000, pay someone $50 an hour who knows what they're doing to come in for 20 hours a month. 20 hours a month is a lot of time in your ads, if they know what they're doing. Or pay them $100 an hour for somebody really good and have them in there 10 hours. Like, that's a lot of time for somebody who actually knows what they're doing to make a lot of changes that will make a difference in your business. And so, look, we try to do this. We try to bring it in-house. Somebody who had more of a Facebook skill than a Google skill, because we wanted to lean into social. We were big. I taught him everything we knew. I gave him access to the course I had created at that point. And I remember being at a mastermind and human error, something slipped through. The budget got off for a weekend. Nobody was paying attention because it was a weekend, and we spent $50,000 in a weekend. And that sucked. I'm not gonna lie, that was not fun. I thought we should obviously let the person go. My two partners disagreed. They liked the guy. I like the guy, for that matter. I've worked with him since then. But I flew down there. I flew to Charlotte for a week and sat with him for an entire week and just worked through everything, taught him everything I knew. And after that, things went a lot better. But that was a tough weekend, right? And that's what can happen from an agency, from anyone, if they just mix a few settings or run you on Performance Max and say, it'll definitely work. Look at all these clicks we're getting on the term sauna. They should be converting by now. Why aren't people buying $3,000 saunas when they search the word sauna? The worst part of agencies to me is they're a fan of cutting. So they have to show you improvement every month, or at least they believe they need to show you improvement every month. So it's really easy to start cutting and cut some more and cut some more and cut some more. And then will they ride your brand name and show you how that trademark ad, which you could set up in about 14 seconds today, is converting. Look at this. This is one ad we set up is crushing for you. Yeah, it's because you're riding my brand name. And then they just continue to cut and cut and cut and cut. And they're like, look at this ROAS. And you realize that they're just squeezing the sponge. You're not filling the sponge anymore. They're just squeezing everything dry. And at some point it just dries up. So even if they're running the funnel the right way, they have to cut in order to show you improvement month after month after month. And, they'll cut hours. They'll cut, what is that called? Day parting. They'll day part the heck out of it, right? Oh, people convert way more between 7 and 8 a.m. So we shut off the other 23 hours and look at 7 to 8 a.m. is crushing for you. It's not cool. I'm not a fan of agencies. I think I've said this on the podcast before. This is one place where you can really get into trouble, and it is such a lifeline. It is the heartbeat of your business in the beginning. And until you can move into SEO and other, brand building efforts, if they screw this up, it can really, really be detrimental to your business. And so I just don't recommend it.
And I just want to walk back a step there as well. I 100% agree, but I'm also going to apply that same few last sentences you said to SEO. Please don't hire an SEO agency just out of the gate. That is a place where you can really lose some money because, one, they are never cheap. If they're cheap, automatically they're going to be shit. But SEO being the thing where you pay now and you don't see results for months, because that's how SEO works. You got to do the work and then you get the results. You can pay an agency. They'll be like, oh, we're going to do this, this, and this. And in 6 months, you'll see the results. So you pay them for 6 months and lo and behold, they don't get the results. You're not getting your money back, right? That's not going to be their policy, right? They're going to say, well, we've done the work, blah, blah, blah. You can't get your money back. And then, once again, this is a story I've heard many times from people who have tried to outsource their SEO to an agency for thousands of dollars a month. And then that agency, turns out, didn't actually know how to rank a e-commerce business because they were a local service business or something like that, and didn't get really any return on that money. Now, hopefully, I think Ben's working on something here where we might have somebody we can recommend in that space. Hopefully, because that would be fantastic. So if that does eventuate, we will absolutely, have something we might be recommending to people to cover that gap. But please don't rush into outsourcing to an SEO agency for your high ticket dropshipping business.
I think this is something I've considered building. Like just on the topic of that, John, is like, number one, I think agency is probably the worst business ever to run. It sounds terrible, but
I don't like it either.
I've never met anyone who can do the SEO right. The person I'm testing right now is saying a lot of the right things. Will they execute? I don't know, but I've never found it. And so like, it's really tempting to try to spin this up, but yeah, you're keeping so many different people happy. You're setting these expectations where, we talked to someone today who is going to help us with a site. And I was like, this site's going to be way easier than your site. And it's probably going to break your mental frame of how hard you've had to work on your site compared to this site. And that's the case on niche by niche by niche, by person by person. And then you're going to meet one person who's a perfectionist and you'll never get the content the way they want it. And you'll be spending your entire day bouncing back emails and Slacks. And then you'll get another person who just wants you to put the stuff up. And then 3 months later, they'll charge back on you and be like, what? This isn't working. You told me this is going to work. Right. And so like, I'm not sure I would be the right person to run this business. However, I'm positive whether you're in our course or not in our course, please come in our course. I can find you keywords that will make you a whole lot of money. I love to do that in coaching calls, by the way. If you're a student listening to this, bring it up. Let's walk through your stores in live time because SEO is so powerful if you just do it right. And I'm shocked that I shouldn't be shocked that there's so many people out there claiming they can do it right, but there's so many. You're going to get bombarded in your inbox when you run these businesses by people who claim they can help you every day. I probably deleted 13 of them today. Watch out. Like there's sharks everywhere and, whatever. They're trying to do what's best for them. But I hope that you trust John and I to a point where we recommend only people we trust that have shown past wins. And I just don't think that's the case in the industry.
Yep.
Anyway, that's the top things to outsource. We went all over the place. I'm positive I turned this into a 2-part episode because I am late for being home for my wife right now. So thanks for joining us. If there's something you outsource in your business and you have a question for us, jump into our Facebook tribe group. John renamed it, but you can still find it by searching the Dropship Tribe in Facebook. It is a Facebook group where you can get all the help from John and I personally, and John goes live in there. We'd love to have you in there and talk about the things that you're outsourcing in your business. So go to Facebook, type in Dropship Tribe, and come join us and bounce some ideas off of us in there.